Hey everyone, welcome to Innate Express Podcast, and I'm here with Junior, and it is an awesome Saturday morning, and we are continuing Fame and Fortune, Volume 33, B.J. Palmer, and we just had a discussion. We're going to start hitting some D.D. Palmer very soon, maybe our next video, and what I'd like you to do, please share this, and also subscribe to the page. We have a lot of good content coming up and a lot of adjusting content. And we're going to start off Fame and Fortune, and we're on chapter 3. Chapter 3. Conflict.
All right. Medical men admit God on Sunday, admit nature cures other 6 days, in theory, and deny both 7 days a week when they prescribe pills, powders, potions, prescriptions, and injections. Thinking substance things from outside cure something physically wrong inside. Preachers of religious admit omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience of the kingdom of God within you. From the pulpit, preach this gospel from Velmans on Sunday, and when sick themselves, deny the ability of internal God within man to get them well. Other 6 days a week. Going to materialists, to have their material disease therapeutically healed and cured by pills, powders, potions, prescriptions, and injections, thinking remedial things from outside will cure something wrong inside. Medical men are in conflict between what they believe religiously and what they practice medically. Preachers are in conflict between what they preach religiously and what they do therapeutically when sick. There is no consistency in principle or practice in either of their divided one-half dogmas or science. Medical men deny there is an all intellectual, inspirable, internal innate intelligence that gets sick people well. They ridicule chiropractors who assert such in a factual actuality, calling our philosophy a cult. Religious preachers assert there is an all-internal God that rules universe and deny that there is an internal God in man. Both medical men and preachers go to chiropractors and get well because they permit the actual factual union of innate with their physical bodies. Chiropractors has no such conflict. He knows there is an external universe in universal intelligence, and there is also an internal innate intelligence with which he cooperates, restoring one into the other or through the other.
Awesome. So, my daughter has had a cough the past couple of days. It's actually been 5 days. And what seems the sickness is the cure. Innate's on the job. The body's trying to get something out. She has had a fever and cooking off the bugs, basically. You know, virus and bacteria don't reproduce at a high fever, at a high temperature. So the body's doing something wonderful. You know, the medical world wants us to add, continually to add, which also means suppress innate's job. So, you know, and of course it's not easy being a parent. What do we do? And then also the debate between husband and wife, what should we do? And my wife trusts innate, she trusts God, she trusts chiropractic, and trusts the body. But there's also those times where we have those, you know, a little bit of fear because we've also been programmed, and that programming was going on back then too. And you know, the body heals itself. We know it. And when we, you know, he talks about he knows there is an external universal intelligence, and there is also an internal innate intelligence with which he cooperates, restoring one into and through the other. right? Establishing a continuity of innate spirit within the system so the body can heal itself. It's the trust. What did you get from that?
Something very similar. Aulani, when she was 2 years old, she was struggling to walk straight, and this would like continue till 3, and then we took her to a bunch of different specialists and kept getting her looked at. So she wasn't able to walk straight, she wasn't able to jump, she was walking into walls, she couldn't balance on anything. And after going to 4 different specialists and getting told that there was nothing that could be done, just wait it out, we got her adjusted. They adjusted Atlas and her ilium, and she was able to jump for the first time.
Wow.
So like you see examples like that. And then my son, he had a cough, and his cough lasted over 3 months. And then obviously the antibiotics and all this other stuff, like trying to get rid of his cough. Because my wife is still in the fear set mentality. Like, I just started chiropractic school. I can't expect her to be on board 100% with everything.
And 3 months is significant,
Yeah.
and it's understandable, you know?
Yeah. So all of a sudden, he gets adjusted. I think it was at a Saturday Night Live in Fort Lauderdale, actually. And he gets adjusted, cough goes away that same night. And it lasts a period of time, but the cough comes back. And I was like, you're not going to get him on antibiotics all over again. We already saw that this didn't work once. Let's get him adjusted. Get him adjusted, his cough goes away. But what was interesting was, like, we kept that same pattern. Obviously, he needs to get adjusted regularly to kind of keep that cough away. It was I wasn't around, so she took him to a chiropractor in the area. And it was a chiropractor that doesn't believe in innate intelligence, doesn't say subluxation, doesn't do. He adjusts him. His cough gets worse. So it's not the actual mechanism of the adjustment, because he used the activator, even though he clicked up his whole spine and wasn't, but he did pretty much, you would think it's the same thing. Like, he adjusted him and his cough didn't go away, it actually got worse because the intention behind the adjustment wasn't there.
Bingo.
So it's pretty powerful, just the mentality, and also being congruent with what you preach. So as a chiropractor, we're preaching, a healthier way of living, or a more natural way of living. And then you've mentioned it before in conversation, what do we feed our kids? Because that would also fall in line with the congruency of, and I have that bad habit, and that a lot of times my daughter will cry for something that I know isn't healthy for her, and then I'm going down that route. Same thing as if it was a medicine, or the same thing, or in my opinion, like, is there a congruency in what we preach? Like here. It's right here. So it really brings me back to hearing.
I'm trying to light from up. Did you see it there?
There's a stool right here. You need it.
Yeah, there's something extra, being grounded in our principles, knowing who we are. I was reading some notes I had from Sigafus, and they were from, like 2006 or 7 or something like that. And I'm reading through my notes, and it was a list of things to do for a chiropractor, being successful. And one of the main ones was read a passage every day of a green book. I have no idea how a chiropractor can survive as a chiropractor and not having some basic understanding of our profession, and it's in the books. And I'm a DD man. I consider myself a DD man, but I also read BJ Palmer's books, and they're right here. And I've had chiropractors get angry at me when I talk about reading green books, or have you read this in a green book, or mention something, and you get angry about it and saying, that's not chiropractic and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the basis of chiropractic. If you don't know that you have 2 feet, how can you ever stand up properly, right? If you don't know that the bottom is supposed to touch the floor, right, you'll end up walking on your hands or crawling on your belly, right? So ultimately, this is the sole of your feet This is the most important thing where the rubber hits the road. This is where we have to be. Even though it's complicated sometimes, it's hard to read some things. But when we get it deeper inside of ourselves, it becomes us. That's why it's part of having a successful practice, reading a green book, reading every day, reading a sentence. Sometimes one paragraph you can sit and chew on and digest for, a week or a month and take it in. What did he mean by that? What was that exactly, he was trying to portray? Now I get it this way. I'm not saying this is the Bible. It's the Bible of chiropractic. But you think about the Bible, if you read it once and it's like a novel, I know it's going to happen at the end, that's it. Then religion would be nothing, right? So reading something, it's wisdom, and getting that wisdom within ourselves. Each time we see it with new eyes. We're reading it with new, hearing it with new ears. So each time we take it in, it means something different for ourselves. The longer we've been in practice or caring for people, things make more sense, or different things become part of us. It's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's definitely where that special something comes from.
That's it.
If you're able to ground yourself and you're keeping this active in your mind and within yourself, then like with my son's case, one person who doesn't read the green books, doesn't have belief in what he's doing, just going through the mechanistic way, bone press, that's it.
Yeah.
And you don't have the proper intention that comes from the knowledge of what's presented here.
Yeah. And they've shown in quantum physics that intention means everything.
Mm-hmm.
Your expectation of the outcome, your understanding. In quantum physics, that is reality, and we know that to be true now. And BJ, DD, all these guys, they were talking about at the beginning about that type of thing. So that's great. Let's read this one. This is chapter 4, Ultimates. The ultimate buying object of sick is to get well. I mean, that's what the product is. Ultimately, selling objective of chiropractor is to get sick well. If these two meet, all else ultimately follows. Betwixt, he actually says betwixt, and between these two ultimate objectives are two approaches, one which succeeds and one which fails. Ultimate, which succeeds, is one which strictly, exclusively, and inclusively follows innate development from above downward and from within outward, both in patient and in chiropractor. The law of innate, its principle and practice is absolute and cannot be violated except to loss of both patient and chiropractor. Now I'm just going to stop there for a second, because it's a meeting of innate to innate, or spirit to spirit. And when that spirit, what we were just talking about too, that quantum connection, your body will show me a different subluxation than it will maybe someone else. And there have been millions of debates about those things. Someone finds an atlas subluxation in one direction, the next guy, another expert, finds it another way. And I see it in this way. Your innate trusts me in a different way than it trusts another person. You're going to help me with this vibration, this tone right now, because that's what I need. Innately, we're saying those things. When innately your innate says, look, I don't trust you, you're better off driving my car than adjusting my atlas, and this is what I'm going to give you at the moment and get this thing over with. That is where I see most of the profession. That's why there is so much other adjunct stuff from fart levelers and standard process and all these things. And I am calling those places out because what they've done is dominated our schools and our education. And it's a failure in our part of being able to teach the principles and philosophy. If we can't have a seminar based on principles and philosophy of chiropractic or technique, all those other things are a waste of time, and they could be done in anything. Anybody can tell you to put shoe inserts. There's a machine at Walmart that'll stand you on and say, buy this one, right? There's no doctoring involved in that. There's no chiropractic. That's my rant for a moment. All right, I'll get back to it. I say those things and I rant, and I don't pick on people that are doing it, But if you need help, I can help you. I will help you. Junior will help you. Because chiropractic is that important, and people deserve to receive chiropractic care, unsullied, you know, in its ultimate form. Ultimate, which fails, is where external economic pressure, that's it right there, external economic pressure, patient pressure, competitive pressure, which become involved, where money, what the patient wants done, I mean, I'm just going to stop there a second, because you get that, and people say, well, what if the people say they want this? And I was just talking to somebody in Mexico about that, and I said, who is the doctor? Who is the chiropractor, I prefer to say? I know what to do, and I'm going to help your body do it. All those things will happen in the right time. The side effect of chiropractic, your symptoms are going to be better. If they're not, your body's still healing. So the side effect of chiropractic are your symptoms. Let me do my job. Sigafus used to say this. He used to tell me, he said, if you know how to do my job better than me, you go home and I come to you. I thought that was just great. I've told people that. I said, if you want me to, I'll do it your way, and then I'm going to come to your house and you take care of me. How about that? Incorporating method over other chiropractic by the man across the hall, next door or down the block, thinking he is giving more for the money to please the patient, which actually introduces thinking giving less to get him well. A adds one nothing. A adds one thing, not chiropractic. B thinks he must add that one plus another, and now adds 2 plus a third. B adds all 3 plus a fourth. So the multiplicity of divergence distracts from the and dilutes innate delivery in both chiropractor and chiropractic patient. Yes, that's what we just talked about. We're diluting our message and diluting the power of chiropractic. Eventually, if every chiropractor follows second routine, chiropractic is smothered and buried, and anti-chiropractic pro-medical methods come in, destroy health service, and become lost in the jungle of failures which destroy health service to sick. And chiropractor goes begging for dollars based on external pressure.
That's a whole practice building section.
That's a whole practice building special. Section. That's why we're reading Fame and Fortune. Philosophy, understanding chiropractic, and then it's practice building. Because we just talked about opening a practice. You're going to open a practice soon. You have a beautiful young lady and a beautiful young son to take care of, and a beautiful wife. And you know what? There's pressure. You got to feed them. And the salesmen want us to say, here, sell this, you'll make money. And we start selling the product, and then our product of chiropractic becomes diluted. If I need to take this foot salve, rub it on my feet to make me better, then this chiropractic is sort of just an add-on, and it means less, right? You're standing in mud at that point, right? Not solid ground. I prefer the solid ground. And people ask me what to eat all the time. And I said, eat food touched, my father used to say this, eat food touched by the fewest number of people, right? Or eat food that was living recently. That's good for you. If you want some more of that, there's great nutrition people I'll refer you to. And you know what to eat. We know good food, right? And there's nothing wrong with telling people you got to eat good food. But ultimately, it's not our job to give them a menu, right? The body's going to get healthy. We clear the neural system. If it's not clear, it's not even going to digest those expensive vitamins, right? It's not going to digest and use it properly. You're just going to just push it right out. That was a powerful section. And obviously, I get riled up about it.
Yeah.
And I want every chiropractor to be successful at chiropractic.
It builds on what we read previously about the whole educated mind and allowing innate, but it takes it to a whole nother level, and just the influences that sometimes, because in school it's very fear-based, so they constantly, like, you're not going to be successful, you're going to be starving for the first year, 2 years of practice. You need to have something else inside of your practice. You could charge for doing a a massage or a scraping or whatever. You could charge for doing this, you could charge for doing that, and that's gonna be how you, and that's how you're gonna keep your doors open.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times in student clinic, I'll have patients come to me and tell me, I need to get, you need to massage my neck before you adjust it. I was like, my muscles are too tense. They're like, well, think of the reason that your muscles are tense. What supplies the muscles? What is causing them to tense up? So if it's the nerve that's causing the muscles to tense, if I do the adjustment, which is gonna alleviate the tension on these nerves,
Yeah.
aren't your muscles gonna relax?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be better to do the adjustment and allow your body to relax them on their own?
Yep.
So,
That's good.
but that's not what we're taught. And there's
Yep.
like the vast majority of people, look at Palmer right now, the biggest clubs on campus are Soft Tissue Club, Functional Rehab, and Mopal. Those are the three pretty much biggest clubs. And, you know, it's just kind of sad to think that right now everyone is drifting away from what true chiropractic is. If you teach anything other than that,
I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna say more people are coming back to principled
Yeah.
chiropractic, right?
right now it is.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
true.
But
Because who wants to be, you know, I love massage therapists. I have friends that are massage therapists. I get a massage occasionally. But I'm not a massage therapist and I don't want to be one, right? So you hit the nail on the head. I tell people all the time, no massage before your adjustment. I want at least 24 hours if you get a massage before you come in here,
That's cool.
okay? And then I want you to at least wait a few hours and let your innate do the job before you get a massage after your adjustment. Your body is doing something beyond our perception of living human beings. What's going on after that adjustment? I actually have no idea. But I know innate does, your spirit does. It knows what's going on. If it didn't, we'd be viewing you, right? You would be on the other side of the soil. So I'm so happy you mentioned that because a conversation comes up in practice. You're gonna get it, everybody does. That's beautiful.
Okay.
And you know, I just want to go back just a little bit. Like I said, my daughter's had a cough for a week. I woke up at 2 o'clock I was already awake. She'd been coughing all night, and I picked her up and I made her a little ginger tea, and then I took her down to the adjusting room in my house. And I would love to say immediately the cough went away. It didn't. Okay, I adjusted her, and she kept coughing. And I thought, in my mind, I wanted to go away. And I've adjusted her 3 times a day, maybe 4 some days, maybe more than that. Each time thinking it's going to go away right now. But Nate's on the job, but it's not really up to me. Nate still needs to go through the processes. It's not the cure for the cough, right? It's the clarity of the neurology for the body to heal itself. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen, you know. She went to bed and she was coughing a little bit less, but she still coughed. But her body is healing. Her fever broke. She all of a sudden went into some deep sweats because she slept between my wife and I last night, and she was soaking wet. We changed her shirt about 3:30 in the morning, and you know what? She woke up this morning and she wasn't a little bit of cough, but not much, and her fever was gone. She's had a fever for a week. She needed it. I'm not trying to cure the fever. I'm just clearing the neurology, clearing Innate's communication so it could do its job. If I get her out of something too quickly, maybe I'm inhibiting and keeping her from healing and causing a problem in the future. Because we know there are inflammatory responses. If we suppress, we'll have bigger ones in the future. So that's one thing too. And as a chiropractor, I want the magic with my family too, right? I've had children, a family comes in, family of 5 kids. They've been all coughing for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They come in and get adjusted. They all stop coughing, and then my kid still coughs. It's like, but they needed it, right? It's not that the adjustment was improper at the time. It was normal. Wow, you're so good at that. And Innate is on the job. Can you imagine the processes of her just growing every moment, right? making 3 million cells a minute, making this new human flesh. It's
The
just,
education is amazing too, because
Yeah.
by you not falling into what every one of her friends probably does, it takes medicine or going down that route.
yep. Oh, that's a great idea.
And that it allows for her to grow up that way and have
Yeah.
that mentality. And then I really like the one for the patients, that education on the patients,
Yeah.
to show the importance of the adjustment, that it's so important that you don't want anything inhibiting before, make sure that it's the right mindset, which takes away the conversation of you giving them a massage before it,
Oh, yeah.
and then saving that period of time afterwards to allow the body to heal itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, we want to add more, that we're thinking adding more value, like Walmart. You know, if they only sold diamond rings, I'm not saying, you know, don't go buy one there, but your wife would have, or husband, whoever, would rather have one from Tiffany's, right? I'd rather be the Tiffany's, right? So that's what I even tell people in here. This is what you're getting. I'm giving you the best service I can. I want you to have a high volume practice. Struggling and having to sell carpets and magazines and having to sell chairs and mattresses and pillows, you don't hopefully never have to do that. And when we're founded in our principle, we have success. If you sell, I had a child just recently. He was having 9 seizures a day for something like 3 or 4 years, and the seizure would knock him out for 2 hours. So 9 seizures a day, that's 18 hours a day. The kid he never played with his brother, never swam in the pool. I mean, it was a tough time for the whole family. And within a week, his seizures went from 8 to 9 a day to 2 per week. I'd love them all to go away, but that's significant.
That's
Huge. The church was praying for him. The community was praying for him. Everybody, yay, that's awesome. Everybody was, the whole town, everyone around him. It was actually, the friends of the family said, go see Haig, and paid for them because the family spent all their money on care for this child, which I could understand. Friends paid for them to come in, and the child got better. Do you think you'll get referrals from that? The entire church had been praying for this boy. Every person from that church ends up calling and say, hey, can I come in? Absolutely, I'm here for you. That's marketing. I go out and I do talks in churches and companies, and I do outside screenings and all those things because I love to do it, because I have a chance to talk about chiropractic. But really the best things are referrals. Posting on Facebook is the 1% of referrals. I go for the 99, right? So, and all that comes from within. I get excited to talk about this. Can you tell? Yeah, obviously, right? Okay, let's read another one.
Sure.
I mean, these two are small, okay?
Yeah.
Chapter 5, an analogy. In National Geographic, July 1954, we find this analogy. The way to understand the telephone company, one AT&T public relations expert told me, is to think of it as a nerve system. Think of the country as a big scattered organism. The telephone wires link it together as our own nerve coordinates your body. At first, the telephone wires carried only sounds and correspond to the nerves that carry sound from your ear to your brain. Now, with television, they're carrying sight. There's the optic nerve, but your body also has motor nerves. Your brain sends messages along the nerves telling your fingers to move, and it moves. Well, telephone wires do that too. As wonderfully complex as telephone system is, it is one drop compared to an ocean, compared to a human organism, with its complex brain, wires, messages flowing afferently and efferently. Notwithstanding, it works as far as it goes. No phone system can possess several functions which human living body possesses. It has no memory to duplicate like action under like conditions. It cannot and does not repair damages to itself as living human body does. It cannot adapt itself to variables arising, such as storms, wires down, current flow broken, which a living human body can do. And it cannot conceive conceptions, reproduce itself by manufacturing seeds, plant them within itself to germinate, to generate, fertilize, and build unit like itself, as living body can do. If an accidental subluxation occurs somewhere between generator and motor, diminishing its normal quanta flow of electrical message conveying impulses, it cannot accidentally adjust itself, restoring that flow, restoring its function of transmitting messages, as human living body often does. Everywhere we see man artificially duplicating parts of living human beings. Everywhere we see medical men denying that all natural elements which make living man live as he is. Dede says in his book, is the Chiropractic Adjuster, which we're going to do right now, soon, in translating into Spanish and Portuguese. One thing he does, he goes through people's writings. It's the chiropractor's adjuster, putting them back on the path. A lot of people mention like a machine and a mechanic and repairing a part. And he said, we are not machines. We're far more advanced than that. And I can't say I can fix your low back or I can fix your heart disease. I can adjust you. Your body has a hierarchy of healing. Your low back pain might be way down on the list, but there might be a kidney problem you have no idea about. Your innate's on the job. Now it's clear to heal that. And I'm going to tell the story about my mother real quick. I'm not going to tell her heart disease story because her body healed that, but her kidney disease. Her sciatic pain was so bad, and I got therapeutic for a little while. It's my mother. I wanted her to be out of pain. And her sciatic pain got so bad, she couldn't walk, she was complaining, and I sent her to a physical therapist, couldn't help, it got worse. We took new x-rays, we did an MRI, everything just got worse. Oh, we didn't do an MRI, we did x-rays, and what was happening is she had one functioning kidney for her whole life, and that one kidney went from, I saw it on the urologist's report, was a shriveled up little prune, and it was growing to 8 centimeters and functioning from no function. If I said, oh, God forbid I got her out of pain in her sciatica and I'd stopped adjusting her, maybe her kidney would not have healed, right? How many people I've heard over and over again, oh, I saw a chiropractor in college, pain went away, and I stopped going. And then you have a year of hysterectomy, was 1 year after that. Maybe your body was healing the uterus. Maybe your body was healing the prostate. And then you stopped going to the chiropractor because unfortunately your pain went away, and unfortunately the chiropractor wasn't educated properly or didn't educate you properly. That is where I see the biggest gap, right? Is that little bit. That's why education's so important. I give drip education. I'm constantly educating, and also that power. They might not know everything about chiropractic, but when they believe in you and they know what you know, he must believe in this. It must be true. And then they start following along and they start getting healthier, and then they still tell more people. So my mother is a big example of that. Got anything? There's this one.
Alright. Nature. While in Hollywood, January 1954, witnessed an abdominal operation for removal of a uterine tumor weighing 18 pounds. This was in 3D and color. During taking a picture, surgeons described what he was doing. Several times he referred to how nature did this or that. What do you think or understand he could possibly mean by nature? Was it an evasive or avoidance term? Did he use it glibly to imply something he didn't understand or couldn't explain? Some chiropractors find themselves at crossroads in conflicts between what they want to believe, which to believe, and have faith in, what to know and what to practice, to get sick well. They prefer not to oppose biblical religions or medical science, so they wallow around in complexities of uncertainties of both, preferring to be an all-around adherent to nothing definite, specific, or workable.
Goes back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that you know that you know that you know is what Sid Williams used to say. You know that you know that you know. Chiropractic, I remember in our orientation at Life University, it was 3 hours of Sid Williams speaking, and you could not leave the room. Everybody had a full bladder. And he threatened to drop these keys for 2.5 of those hours, and it wasn't until the very end he dropped them on the podium. That chiropractic works, and it's like gravity. It works no matter what. You are educated, just doesn't know it. Like my mother with the kidney, with this tumor that he's mentioning, if that tumor didn't form, she probably would have been dead already, right? The genius of the body, the spirit of the body, encapsulated, right? 18 pounds. It had been growing and keeping from metastasizing through the rest of her system. So the genius of educated said, let's puncture that. And let's draw out some stuff, and then we're going to analyze it, but then we're going to release it to the whole body. Or we'll chop it off. Once they chop it off, that's what all the chemo is for, is to try and get those little cells that are trapped going around the body so they don't metastasize. So, but the far smarter is the body says, I'm going to wall that off. Now, she probably feels better that she has an 18-pound tumor pulled out of her body. But there is a genius going on. The body's protecting itself at all times, the best that it can at the moment. So we want to say we caught the flu or we caught this disease, but it's really coming from internal. Because it's easier to think of, we talked about this before, the physical stuff, the car accident, falling and becoming subluxated. But those internal forces as well, the emotional stress, the chemical stress, and I also say there's spiritual stress. When there's a book called The Molecules of Emotion by Candace Pert, and she talks about the chemistry of emotion in the body. So that's also a chemical stress. And now science is really talking about, cancers and heart disease and different things coming from emotions. And Louise Hay, in her book, You Can Heal Your Life and Heal Yourself, I think is one of those two books, talks about heart disease and about a person not being heard through their life. They feel like they haven't been heard. And I understand those things. And I can see that now with the people that I have met through all the decades now, that I can see that might be an underlying thing, and it makes sense to me that the emotions are a big portion of our health system. And then how does that contact from our viscera and then subluxate a vertebra? Because that's a mechanical thing. We think about it in mechanics. But if we take it out of the mechanistic thought and think in the vitalistic thought, put our principles into action, right? Because we're far more dynamic than we really think we are. That's why we add pills and drugs and things like that into our system. But the emotions or something from the viscera coming back and causing a subluxation, that's the part sometimes it's a little tough for us to wrap our head around. That it's not coming from a whack in your back or dropping a barbell on your spine or something, I don't know. But from the dysfunction or the lack of ease causing the subluxation from the viscera, not always the subluxation causing the dis-ease or malfunction. It can come back that way. So for me, I also look at that as a code that we're given. I think it's a spiritual code from God saying, this is how you care for my people. This is coming back this way. I'm giving you this message to adjust it to help this person live a more vitalistic or more vivacious life. So those are the little more esoteric type of things of understanding for people. In chiropractic, it's just easier to think of the therapist type of thing, right?
Yeah, I got stuck on that last little section, and that's why I was reading it over, because it's similar to what you're saying, like the whole emotional subluxation or different things that can be causing it that science just doesn't understand. At this point, science just hasn't caught up to that. And it took me back, because right now I'm trying to learn as much about tone as possible. And chiropractic was founded on tone, and there's so many different approaches to someone's system to kind of unwind the meningeal tension and everything like that, which once again, science doesn't really have a stance either way, or doesn't really have an explanation for something like that. So it was saying to have your certainty and not to worry about what scientists view, and that tying it back to the whole certainty. But the religious thing I found pretty interesting, because in class I brought up, I believe it was the book 1910, where he was saying where he got the inspiration to adjust Harvey Litter, and people started like saying, "Oh, get behind me, Satan! Get behind me, Satan!" Because they couldn't accept that was something, because their religious views keep them from accepting something like that. And I remember meeting you. I don't know what area that was, but you guys were having that retreat, and a couple of the people from Pasquale.
Casadega, yeah.
Yeah. So and at that time, I was having an odd experience where my grandmother just kept coming up in weird ways, and it was hard for me to accept that, because my religious views said that that's something negative, and it just kept viewing something so beautiful. Now that I look at it, like my grandmother reaching out to me, I was viewing as something negative because I was taught that that's negative. And the same way with science, like when I went into chiropractic school and I started hearing all these things, I viewed it as negative. Like there's no way, because science doesn't agree with it. So once I was able to, once again, silence that educated mind, or what I have been programmed, the way I've been programmed to think, I'm able to connect with people on a deeper level. And it's extremely powerful, and it's cool to see it in the book, because I hadn't even read that. It was just a journey that I had to go on my own.
Absolutely. That's great. You know, he got the message from a spiritual being, is what he says. And, you know, the reality is, even in the Bible, let's just talk about that and put it out there, many people got spiritual messages that were regular people, okay? We are all able to receive those messages, and connecting the material with the spiritual. The first chapter of 1914, and I read that one quite often on stage, that's what he talks about, is getting to that connection and understanding where we are, and that material and the spiritual are one, and understanding what it is in the afterlife or in that spiritual realm. We are going to have a higher understanding of that with chiropractic. And I know that's esoteric, and it's a lot for people to grab onto, and I can understand it. Don't get mad at the messenger, but ultimately understanding these things, chiropractic is far more than we have any realization of, I feel. Dee started setting the tone for that, and I don't think he realized it. He was just understanding it. He was just giving us a vocabulary and trying to put it into words himself, right? So we are taking all this time to unwind it. B.J. Palmer was much more mechanistic. We're getting back to the age of Dee, and that's where all this talk starts coming up. Just organically, it's like I see it, something more in chiropractic.
Yeah, it definitely is. And once you open yourself up to that, like the amount of ways that you can help someone seem limitless. Like to say that an adjustment can help somebody with an emotional past trauma, that's unbelievable. Yeah, like I told you, I had that experience with the girl on the table, and I adjusted her, and I could feel what it was that was being released. Like the vibration was completely different. The adjustment was just different than anything I had felt before. So I stepped back and just observed and watched her body integrate the adjustment. And you saw her shoulders round forward, her wrists curl up, her fist clench and her body just kind of come into that ball, and her breathing almost stopped. And I just gave her time and let her know that I was still there. And you see her come off, and her face is just red, and she had to leave. And she told me that she was in the car crying for 20 minutes, and she was finally able to integrate what that past experience that she had been holding on to for so long. So
that's wow, you know. You don't know what that could have manifested in your life, or, you know, people making bad decisions, maybe even taking their own life, and decide not to. Or whatever this old past experience of just locked up, creating dis-ease or malfunction in her. I mean, that's just amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Thanks for sharing that. This was a big session. I think we're getting deeper, and you know, I'd like to do more of us together, and thanks for tuning in. And I want to just talk about this book 1 second, and this is The Basis of Theory of Medicine by Speransky, and the role of the nerve system that he did this research in the 1940s in Russia with the intention of helping Russians become healthier. No money from companies or advertising or anything like that, but real research on nerve transmission and disease, and proved chiropractic, basically. I don't need to continually be reproven chiropractic works. You've seen it in your clinician period at school. We don't need to continually prove it. Other people on the outside, or even within our profession, constantly say, prove it to me, prove it to me. This is what I need. I'm going to bring some to Mexico with me, and I'll bring some to Barcelona and Madrid. This is, and I sell them for what I print them, so we can print more. I'm sending out about 15 of them today, and it's here. And you know, there have been a lot of chiropractic writers that have written about it, and I have those, and I send those as adjuncts because it's not necessarily easy reading, but the power is here. The books are important for us, okay? That's why we're doing this. We're inspiring people all over the world that are doing their Green Book readings now. I want you to post them. Put them up. We'll put them on one page. The iChiro is a good one. We can make one for our area. We'll do it on my site. On Innate Express is our Green Book posts on YouTube. So subscribe to the page, share this, and we're going to transform the world together. I love and appreciate you, and thank you very much, Junior. And Aulani, I am so happy you came today, and we can come more. Next time we'll bring Bianca and Malcolm, okay? Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Keep serving.